Hi, I'm Jessica Lombard, proud Superintendent of Huntley Community School District 158. We're excited to be back here for our second episode of RAIDER's Roundtable. Today, we're going to delve into a topic that's critical to all of us, school safety. Here in Huntley 158, we not only prioritize the safety and well-being of our students and our staff, but also make it a priority to be proactive as we approach school safety. We know that students and staff can't perform at their best ability if they're simply not feeling safe. So from emergency preparedness to fostering a nurturing environment, we know that it's important to work together. We need to create a safe, secure spot where every individual can thrive. We hope through this episode that we're able to talk about the things that we do here in our district with our community partners that prioritizes the safety for our students, staff, and community. When you think about school safety, it encompasses a large span of topics, and it takes a whole community working together. In terms of us here in Huntley 158, we partner with the Huntley Fire Protection District, the Huntley Police Department, the Lake in the Hills Police Department, the Algonquin Police Department, our Regional Office of Education, the McHenry County Sheriff's Department, and so many more. Together, we're committed to fostering an environment where safety is not just prioritized, it's a shared responsibility. Today we have a very special guest with us. Today we have Chief Linda Hooten from the Huntley Police Department. Welcome, Linda. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, great. So, Chief, I know that you're not a stranger to the Huntley Police Department, the community, and definitely not to our school district. Can you tell us a little bit about your career and the connections that you've had with our school district over the years?
Absolutely. So I was hired in 2001 as a patrol officer, and I spent 2 years on patrol, and then I was fortunate to be the school resource officer for 4 years out at the high school and Legee. And from there, after my 4 years, I was promoted to sergeant, went into the investigations unit for about 10 years, went back to patrol sergeant. In 2008, I was promoted to deputy chief of patrol. And then this past June, I was promoted to chief of police.
Well, congratulations on that again.
Thank
I know
you.
that it's old hat now, a few months in,
Yeah,
you've got this.
Yeah, I know. So I loved my time in the school as a school resource officer, as an SRO. It is so different from normal policing. And I think that was what I loved most. We usually, as police officers, see people on their worst days when they're when they're in crisis, and being a school resource officer lets you see the students and the staff on their good days too. And so you get to see the great kids, all their achievements, their happy moments. You help them through their sad moments, and you just get to watch them grow. So I loved being out there.
Being at all of our schools, it's really quite fun to be able to see our resource officers who are, whether it's in the lunchroom, giving high fives there in the morning. Maybe there's a struggling student who just didn't want to come to school today and getting out of the car, or just throughout the hallways. Many of our students seek out that resource officer just to talk to about something personal or to say hello. So that's fantastic. You were a school resource officer for about 4 years out on the Harmony Road campus. And we've expanded that intergovernmental agreement. We have the 3 different campuses. So one here in Huntley, one in Lake in the Hills, and then obviously then we have our third out in Algonquin. And so we've expanded that role. We had the resource officer who worked at the high school and Legee. And now we've shifted that from school resource officer, which I sometimes stumble on, to campus resource officer. So we have, working with the 3 different law enforcements, that campus resource officer position. You've talked about it a little bit, but how has that evolved over the years? And what do you see the benefits of having an individual that's out in our buildings every day?
There are so many benefits that we see on a daily basis out at the Harmony Road campus. I have to get used to. I always call it an SRO, but the CRO, getting used to that terminology, having somebody out there all day to have consistency in the approach to how they conduct themselves with the students, discipline, involvement with them, but it's also having that connection with the administration and having one point person to liaison between the school and the police department. We have a great relationship with our police department and the district, and we're very proud of that. And we continue to grow with that relationship. But having an officer assigned out there, it provides a role model for the students. Having contact with Lake in the Hills and Algonquin officers as well is something that is new for us because we never had that before. And it's great. Our school resource officer, Officer Choklad, is able to contact them and they can share things back and forth, trends, brothers, sisters that are going to different schools. And it gives consistency to everything. And that's what's nice.
We have the Chief Safety and Security Officer, and that position started about 10 years ago. And last year, he went ahead and they had regular conversations between the three CROs. But one of the things, he formalized that even more, and so that they have regular times that they can come together, talk about those trends, see what's happening, trying to have that proactive approach, and then started doing where we're kind of leading the way with this component was looking at where our school resource officers across the county and getting them together on a regular basis. So whether you're Officer Tyson, who is out on one of our campus, Officer Choklad, when you can go ahead and learn from others in our county as well. And so that really just takes that, a step further.
Absolutely.
And so it's fantastic.
It's such a unique position. Like I was saying in the beginning, it's a different way to be a police officer. And so having those resources throughout the county to bounce ideas off of, see what's working, what's not working in the schools, just helps build our programs even better. And they do talk about school safety all the time at these meetings because that is first and foremost what they want to accomplish out there and make sure that the schools are safe during the school day.
Absolutely. Now, you probably taught DARE back in the day, and that's shifted, and we have that on all three of our campuses. This year, it looks a little different on Harmony Road with who is teaching that. On both of our other campuses, it's our CRO, and you've made a small shift in who is teaching and getting in other connections with officers, but it's shifted from that DARE to Lead the Way. Can you talk a little bit about what does that look like and why is that so important?
We created Huntley Police Department, Detective Sirks now. She's a juvenile detective. Detective Sirks created it when she was out at the school. And as the resource officer, 13 years ago maybe, we've been using it. It's been a while.
Wow.
So it replaced DARE, and it was for more modern issues that the kids were dealing with. And so we knew what was going on in the schools within our community. And so how could we address that? Cyberbullying was becoming a big issue. Peer pressure is always an issue amongst all grade levels and adults, but it focused more on things that the Huntley kids were dealing with. And so it still talks about marijuana and alcohol abuse and tobacco and all of that stuff, but it was to build their confidence more as well. And so she created the program. She's fantastic at teaching it, and she has such energy and passion for the program that we brought her back to teach it to Legee this year, and she's looking forward to it. She loves interacting with the fifth graders, and they're a fun group and energetic. And so it's a great way for the students to see officers in a different light. They don't have to be scared of them. They can be approachable. They can see the officers being silly and goofy and joking around with them. So it's a win-win for everyone.
One of our unique components about our school district, so you oversee the high school and Legee in terms of some of these initiatives and the things that you're doing with the Huntley Police Department. But all of our friends, whether they're from Harmony Road or Square Barn or from Reed Road, all end up at our high school out in Huntley. And from Legee, our students start there from K-5, and then they go off to one of the middle schools who then are either with Lake in the Hills or Algonquin component. And so that tie working together is extremely important. Well, you're seeing things that are happening here, they're the neighboring, and we do share all of our students between the three. How has that strengthened over the year? Not that it was not strong before, but it was working in the things in their towns and our community. But with that crossover and everybody ending at that same high school, how has that evolved over the years?
I think we're focused on it a little bit more now, having those other campus resource officers out there because the information is flowing. So if we know that there is a family issue going on in the high school that also affects one of the
Sure.
The middle schools, they can be sharing that information. And then when that student comes back to the high school, the middle schooler, we know what's been going on, kind of what their history is, and just to be more support for people. I think the kids enjoy seeing the three resource officers talking to each other.
Yeah.
And they see them at the football games together at different events. And that interaction speaks volumes to the kids. And they're all very approachable.
So you talk about that, and oftentimes we see them out at the Friday night light, right? So that they're all there. What are some other ways that our police departments outside the school setting support the school district and kind of safety and security?
Sure. So it just happened yesterday, as a matter of fact. We partnered with the fire department and we did an active shooter incident management training at the fire department with our police department. A Lake in the Hills instructor was with us that also is promoting the training through his department, which is great. And we used the high school. We had a tabletop with the school map, and that's where we did the active shooter training and talked it out. We had different groups. We had incident command, we had staging, and we did all day tabletops on how we would be responding to these. So getting Lake in the Hills, Algonquin involved. As the new chief in Huntley, I've met with both chiefs from the area agencies, and they're committed, just like we are, to school safety and how can we interact within our departments to make sure that we're properly trained and ready, God forbid anything happens out at the schools.
We often talk about safety as that physical safety of the building, of the individuals that are in the building, any threats that could come in or outside of that building. But it goes more than just that component. When you were talking about Lead the Way and teaching that, looking at digital safety, online, all of those kinds of things. I know here in Huntley, you've more recently hired a social worker. There are other roles in all of our police departments, juvenile detective, all different things there. So talking about that a little bit, what does it look like about how you're looking at things outside of just the physical safety component?
So we like to focus on the interaction with the students outside of criminal matters. So we deal with the students in the community, in the neighborhoods, in businesses, at their jobs, things like that. And so getting to know them, getting to know what their issues are as teenagers and young kids and how we can support that. So with our social worker, she's out and about with, talking with families, talking with kids. Our officers, when they engage with them in the community on calls, juvenile complaints at parks, our officers are taking time to have those teachable moments with the kids, interact with them, play baseball with them, play football with them. And so we want to get the message across that we're here to help. We're here to follow the rules, follow the laws, things like that, but we're approachable. So we want this to be a safe community, safe schools, everyone's safe in their homes. And so we do the best that we can to reach out to the young ones. That's, who's up and coming and our next future.
Well, and it's October. So we see right now we've got fire safety. We've got the smokehouse with our second graders and assemblies and different things that are going on. And that, so again, it's taking that outside of just thinking about those active threats. We talked earlier when you were talking about Lead the Way and just that those moments of being able to help them with peer pressure and making decisions, whether it's around drugs or vaping or alcohol, or even just how to make good choices when you're feeling pressured by something that's going on. More recently, I've seen some community talks around these e-bikes, right? And all those kinds of things.
Yes.
And so again, partnering their bike safety and all of that. So it really does look at safety in such a broad perspective and that community approach to it.
Yes.
I think one of the things that you talked a little bit about that training you just had with the fire department and the other agencies, but probably a lot of people who are listening here today don't know that there was a larger full scale.
Yes.
And there were so many different entities that were part of that. We had our local law enforcement from all three campuses, the county sheriff with the Red Cross, the fire department, probably so many others that I'm not thinking about. Yeah. And that was led by one of your officers there and taking that, correct? And how did that come to light? And why was that so important for our community?
So that our full scale was 8 months in the planning. Patrick Ulrich from our department coordinated it and was the brains behind it. And he did a fantastic job getting all of those entities that you mentioned. We had local agencies, we had the hospital participate, our local dispatch, and it was to test us to see how we measured up with our training and the skills that we have been providing officers for years. And so this exercise included 213 participants.
Wow.
Can you believe that? And it was a 4-hour drill. We practiced out at the high school. Officers arrived. They were able to stop the threat within 8 minutes. And the national average, if you know, is 7 to 10 minutes. So we were extremely happy with that. And we learned things that we can improve upon, which is what training is for. But it was a great way to measure everything that we have been instilling in the department and that we have been focused on training. And we want to build off of this. We want to continue to work with the school with reunification and transports and all of those things that we can just grow and just learn and be ready and prepared should anything happen.
So, Chief, we were in a room together while this was all going on at the high school because each person from every one of the organizations has set roles that they need to do. And so it was really interesting to see that whole piece come together. We each all practice on our own. We have our safety drills and all the things that we do. But to see all of these groups come together really not only helped me feel like, hey, if we had a situation, we're there. We all know what we need to do. And that provides some comfort to our students. Hopefully it gives that comfort to our families, and definitely heard from staff. Knowing that those things go on definitely makes them feel more safe, which again goes back to that prioritization that we do have here. So we thank you extremely from the bottom of our heart on those. And I think that'll only continue to expand and grow in that collaboration as we move forward. We talked about that when you talk about school safety, there can be, understandably, a lot of angst. And they come from many different people, especially parents, right? Sending their kids off to school and wanting to make sure while they're in our care for 7 hours a day, that their students are safe. And if there was something that you could say to the parents about what you've seen about the collaboration and how to help them feel more comfortable, what would that be?
I think a lot of it starts at home. It starts with the parents having these talks with their kids. There's so many things that are said in school in a joking manner that are inappropriate, and that you can't joke around. You can't joke about violence and weapons anymore in a school. You just can't. We take that seriously. The school takes it seriously, and for the parents to help their kids understand the importance of listening, if you overhear something, to say something to an adult, say something to a teacher, to your campus resource officer. But knowing that we take these seriously, we start an investigation immediately, no matter the hour of day. So if we receive something from the school in the middle of the night, officers are going to go to that house and knock on the door, because we need to make sure that the school is safe the following day for students to arrive. So have those conversations. They're hard conversations, but we live in a world where this is happening more frequently than any of us want it to. So there's resources out there for how to have these talks with kids based on their age level and grade. And it's just important that they feel that they're supported at home as well as in school. And it goes back to the campus resource officer, having the right person in there to engage with those kids so that the kids feel safe coming up. I remember being when I was the resource officer, kids would come up to me, and I was in full uniform. They would come up to me and tell me the criminal acts they did over the weekend. And we'd stop and have a conversation about it, but they trusted me. They knew that they could come to me. I could be a sounding board for them and listen to them. And it was those relationships that are cultivated every single day by the campus resource officer so that the kids feel comfortable telling and giving the information when they think something is inappropriate or doesn't make them feel right.
And they're trained in all the things that they need to
Yes.
as a police officer, but it does take a special
It does.
individual to be in our schools. They're working with 5-year-olds all the way up to 18. They could be out at our light program with our 18 through 22-year-old students. And so one of the things, whether it's like the Hills, Algonquin, or Huntley, that we very much also appreciate is the ability to be able to sit in on those interviews, because the school resource officer is not on that campus or in that school for their entire career.
Right.
It's usually a few years, and then it rotates out. And so that ability to be able to look at what are the things we know our students and the needs that they have, and to be able to partner to find that right individual. And I would say on all three, over the years I've been here, that it has been really critical and crucial to get that right person, and we've done it right every
Yes, we
time.
have.
So that's exciting. You also, we talk about being prepared. We all have, and we can't go into details on all of the processes and procedures that we do around safety, but practicing those is incredibly important. Collaborating is incredibly important. But I think one of the first and probably up there in priorities of importance is building relationships, right? And so you talked a lot about that. Parents having those conversations, that relationship at home, to be able to have that, or with a school. I hope that all of our children have multiple trusted adults throughout their career, but it only takes one. That we've got to build that relationship so that people, if they do see something, they are comfortable enough to say something. If they're feeling a certain way themselves and are struggling, that they know who they can go to help get them into those right resources or supports, whether it's in the school district or out in the community. And we do training around with all of our staff on signs of trauma and signs of depression, looking for things that just might be different with an individual than they had been in the past, and to be able to really step in early on and get supports. And that's one of the things that we know it takes a village.
It does.
And there's community supports that we even have to go through with the county, because we can't all just do it on our own. So relationships that you hit on are extremely important. So Linda, I would like to thank you for coming and joining us today, representing kind of law enforcement everywhere on that. I'd like to thank our Algonquin and our Lake in the Hills police departments as well, the county sheriff's department and our fire department, because we do this together.
We do.
School safety requires a true commitment from everyone: our students, our staff, our parents, our community, our local law enforcement, and all of our first responders that are out there. We want to make sure that we are thanking everyone for their commitment to this, working together with us. We want to thank Linda for coming out and being a guest for this very important topic today. To all of those of you who are out there listening today, I encourage you to talk to your children. Have the conversations about it's never okay to joke about school shootings, school violence, injuring someone else, or bringing weapons to school. Those situations and those conversations that might be said in a joking manner are taken seriously, not only by the school district, but also our law enforcement agencies. Make sure you're talking to your students about the consequences that maybe just not in the discipline sense, but the consequences that happen to those around them who hear that. Students and families are worried about sending their students to school as kids joke, because you never know, is it something serious or is that something that someone's joking about? And lastly, encourage and have conversations with your student that if they're struggling, to reach out and seek that one trusted adult in the schools or in their home or community that they feel that they can go to, so that we can get resources to them. Some of the Huntley 158 proactive safety measures are our dedicated safety staff. We talked about our Chief Safety and Security Officer, Mr. Adam Dean. We have 3 campus resource officers: Officer Tyson from the Lake in the Hills Police Department, Officer Choklad from the Huntley Police Department, and Officer Landerville from Algonquin Police Department. We also employ campus supervisors at the Huntley High School, Marlowe, and Heineman Middle Schools. We've always had a student helpline, but working with Smart Social and partnering with them, we've been able to enhance our student helpline to have an interactive, two-way student communication. Our exterior and interior building security enhancements, such as video secured entries, installation of security cameras across the district, a web activity monitoring system to ensure online safety for our students, a Raptor visitor management system. We have routine required practice of safety drills in cooperation with our local law enforcement, the fire department, and our own transportation department. We hold an annual review of emergency response booklet with input from many stakeholders on our practices and our procedures. We have an annual health life safety walk that's done in cooperation with our Regional Office of Education and the Fire Marshal. Annual professional development for our staff on threat assessment protocols. And we promote anti-bullying lessons and teaching positive behavior through programs like CHAMPS and STOIC. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at our new website, I encourage you to go to our safety and security page, where we have a dedicated page talking about our policies and our procedures, as well as resources for families. Then head on over to our student and family page, where we have items such as Care Solace and other community resources for, again, our students and families. And lastly, I'd like you to take a look at our dedicated bullying page. It talks about our policies, procedures, as well as activities around CHAMPS, STOIC, and other lessons or resources for families and, again, our students. We'd also like to thank the Huntley Public Library for again allowing us to film this episode, record this episode of Raiders Roundtable. I hope to see all of you next time as we jump into meaningful inclusion. And before signing off, our Huntley 158 fun fact. Did you know that McCaben Elementary was named after a sibling pair, Ida and Harley McCaben? Ida was a teacher for 35 years in the school district and then 12 years on the school board. Her brother Harley not only was a planning commissioner in Huntley, he also served on the school board. Together, their interactions with the school and the community, they'd be so proud of the things that our community does for our students each and every day. Thank you for joining us on our Huntley 158 Raiders Roundtable. Until next time.